Hello, everybody. This is Matt from ABT, and we're going to talk about workplace behavior today. So, one of the big things about JRT is we spend all this time trying to teach you how to get the job. We really want to make sure that you're also able to keep that job once you get it. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is how we're going to carry ourselves once we start actually working. So, a big piece of this is really going to be how we show up, how we behave once we get there, and really the kind of overall mentality that we're going to have when we show up to work. We want to make sure that we're valued by the person that hired us, and we want to make sure that we're a good team member. And we're going to build those habits and help you guys understand why it's important to build those habits, even with the first job that you end up getting. So we're going to start, take a look at the next slide. We're going to go over a couple of different ideas and really kind of get in and define what workplace behavior is, and then I'll be back to chat with you in just a sec. Okay, to start off with, we're going to talk about the basics of workplace behavior. The real important stuff right out of the gate is be on time. No matter what the excuse, nobody likes an employee that's late. It's always best to really plan to be 5 to 10 minutes early every time you're supposed to show up for work. One, this will help make a good impression on the boss, but two, it will also ensure that you're not late for work. Being on time and being there when you say you're going to be is probably the number one thing an employer looks for in an employee. The next thing is make sure that you're actually ready to go. This means that we're caught up on sleep, we're not hungry, we're dressed appropriately, and we're ready to be there. And then the last thing of the basics is always be busy. Once you're there, you're getting paid. That person who hired you wants to make sure that you're actually doing work while you're there. And this means if you finish up something that you've done, time to move on to the next task. And if you don't know what that is, you need to ask somebody else or just jump in to help somebody else. So those are kind of the basics. We're going to jump back to the video and I'm going to talk a little bit more about other real basic communication skills, what's appropriate language and stuff like that. All right, now that we've talked about the definition of workplace behavior, we're going to talk about what it actually means and what it really looks like. And we're going to talk about maintaining a professional mentality, a professional state of mind when we're at work. And what we mean by this is once we get to work, we want to have a little bit of a switch over in our brains about, okay, now I'm at work, it's time to maintain a level of professionalism while I'm here. And this is going to mean probably changing and altering a couple of things while we're at work. The first thing is that our language should probably change. We're not hanging out with our friends right now. We're not at practice, and we're certainly not in a locker room. So when we're at work, our language needs to be appropriate and professional at all times. The next piece is that our phone probably needs to go away depending on the job that you have. But most of us in our jobs, in our professional lives, we cannot be on our phones all the time. And as we're younger, as young people, we tend to be on our phones a lot. I struggle with this. I know a lot of other people do as well, but it's something that we really have to watch and make sure that we're dealing with. It's not professional for us to be on our phones while we're at work. It's a bad look for any business, and it's a bad look when it comes to customer interactions. So switching that mentality over when you get to work, okay, I'm here, it's time to start, and I'm going to be a professional throughout. The other thing that we want to talk about is not everybody that you work with is going to maintain the level of professionalism that we're talking about. And it's really important when you first start your job that you recognize some people might not behave in an appropriate way, but I'm my own person and I'm going to maintain my professionalism. This is your job, this is your paycheck, and we want you to be successful. And we really need to make sure that we remain our own person, even though we might be surrounded by a couple of coworkers that aren't as into the job as we are. And that's one of the things that you need to watch out for. So to sum up, we're going to switch our mentality over to one of professionalism. We're going to maintain appropriate relationships, appropriate interactions, and appropriate language while we're at work. The next piece is that we're going to maintain our level of professionalism no matter what's happening around us. All right, check out the next slide and we'll move forward. All right, everybody. So in this slide, we're going to talk about continuing to maintain that professional mentality and that level of professionalism while we're at work. This is really important when it comes to dealing with customers. A lot of us in our first jobs are going to have a high level of customer service or a high level of customer interaction. This is important. We want to maintain our composure when we're dealing with people. We have to remember that we are there to do a job and that we are there to get paid. And that means that managing difficult personalities and different people at work is going to be a part of that job. The next thing is appearance and attire while we're on the job. It's important to recognize real quickly when you start your work as what is appropriate to be wearing, and this is essential because it's going to help people take you seriously when you're on the job, and it also demonstrates to your boss and your other coworkers how seriously you take the job as well. So this is on you. Every job is a little bit different, and so you have to kind of make the decision of what you need to be wearing and do you look appropriate for work and how that all fits into the job that you're doing. We already touched on personal technology a little bit, but my personal belief is it's best to just leave the phone in your pocket while you're on shift and use it on your break when you need to. If you have a family emergency or something like that, let your boss know ahead of time that you're dealing with something and that you need to have your phone out in case you need to be there for a phone call or to receive a message. All right, I'll see you at the next video. All right, everybody. So one of the things we want to talk about is when you finally start getting your first new job, we want to talk about criticism and feedback in this session. The first thing is that we have to understand with a new job, we're going to be learning a lot. We've never worked here before. It might be our first job altogether. And so there's going to be a learning curve. And during that learning curve, while we're trying to understand all of our responsibilities and all of our duties at this job, we're going to make some mistakes. We're going to get some feedback and we're going to get some criticism. What's really important is that we take an open mind and we receive that criticism and feedback in a positive way. Nobody wants to work with somebody that can't learn and doesn't want to take any criticism or feedback. It's really hard for bosses to teach new employees that aren't willing to listen to the feedback and then learn from it. So in this portion, when we're first learning that job and we're starting to figure things out, we want to keep an open mind and a positive attitude towards that feedback. It's really not a bad thing. It's all part of the learning process. The second thing that we're going to talk more about in the next slide is understanding that most of our first jobs is really going to be team oriented and that we are going to be part of a team and understanding our role and how that works and making this a team first mentality once we step into work. So I will check in with you guys after we go over the next slide. Thanks. All right, everybody. Working as a team is a part of most jobs. It is one of the best parts of a job, but can also be one of the most challenging. Working well with others requires us to be good listeners, to know when to speak up. It also requires us to understand the goal of a team and your role in accomplishing that goal. Learning what other team members do, taking initiative, and being willing to help out whenever possible are great ways to be a good team member. All right, everybody. So we're wrapping this video up and we're going to review real quick what we've learned about workplace behavior. The first thing that we're going to talk about is you need to be on time and you need to be reliable. You need to be able to show up when you say you're going to show up and you need to be able to do what you say you are going to do. This is the number one quality that most employers are looking for is reliability, reliability, reliability. The next thing is when we do show up, we need to be ready to work. This means that our hygiene is going to be on point. We're showered, our teeth are brushed, our hair is done, and we're showing up in appropriate clothing for that job that we have. The next piece is we want you to keep it professional, even when others are not. Even if a coworker is being unprofessional or a customer's having a bad day, we need to maintain that professionalism while we are on the job. The next piece is we want you to be a good worker while you're there. We want you to stay busy. We want you to take initiative. And we want you to be a good team member. We want you to help out. This is a new job. We want you to keep an open mind. We want you to be willing to learn, ask questions, figure out how everything works. This is going to make you a better employee and it's going to make you more valued by the manager or the owner when it comes to how much they want you to work and how well they want you to fit in with that team. That's going to be a big piece of it. The last thing is we want you to take pride in your work. You're showing up every day. You're getting paid to do a job. We want you to be proud of that and we want you to take that seriously and we want you to do a good job, both for yourself and for the employer. All right, I will see you guys at the next session of JRT. Thanks for listening.